Terrorists like these suspects in the deadly French attacks are easily being radicalized inside the cell. But our next guest says social media is adding even more fuel to the fire. So how do terror cells communicate? Joining us right now is National Security Analyst Ryan Mauro. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, how do they communicate?
Well, it's largely done either by person or even online, just through social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook. And very often they'll express their sentiment online. And one of the things that amazes me is how often these individuals have a ton of friends, and many of them apparently didn't report them to the authorities.
We've seen that way too many times. But how do they start? How do they start being radicalized? I mean, are they just Googling things? Next thing you know, they're looking at a website. 5 months later, they're radical Islamists?
It usually starts as a social activity. They know someone that they want to impress, someone that they invest their confidence in. They have a mentor. Right. And this person will craft their identity and their worldview. And the starting point is that Islam is not just a religion. They say this is a form of governance. Democracy has no place for you. You don't belong in the West. And so you need to implement Sharia governance or at least wage jihad against democracy.
And we put up on the screen some of the key things when it comes to radicalization. When you look at these Kawachi brothers, I mean, one of them was described as a pothead pizza delivery guy before he got radicalized. But he came from a home where he was orphaned. He and his brother were orphaned by his Albanian parents. He was a ripe target, wasn't he?
Right, because they need a mentor, they need someone to give them a sense of identity and to guide them along in this. And one of the other themes that they institute is basically saying, look, you've sinned a lot. You did not meet up to Allah's standards. And if you want to get into paradise, you have to make up for that. Now the question is, how do you do that? How do you quantify that? And so what they say is the only guaranteed way you're going to get into paradise and please Allah is by engaging in violent jihad, and then your sinful past can be forgotten.
Sure. Now, one of the other components you were just telling me about is anti-Semitism. I mean, the guy who took the Jewish supermarket apparently told the French television that he was a soldier of Al-Qaeda, and we targeted this grocery store because it was Jewish.
Right. And so they are ferociously anti-Semitic, very similar to the Nazis. Some of them, like Hamas, are explicitly genocidal. Then you have those that don't say, we don't necessarily want to kill all Jews, but they still believe in Nazi-like themes that say, well, the Jews are secretly controlling the banks and the governments in order to steal your money and oppress you. It's propaganda just like you would see from the Nazi regime.
Sure. All right. So, you know, you're talking about there are at-risk youth who are susceptible to this message. Okay, you can say that about a lot of different things. How do we stop it?
It's important to have these different narratives. You had General McInerney just on talking about the importance of ideology. There has to be a debate within the Muslim world about the specific verses and how they're being interpreted. Instead of just blanket condemnation saying, oh, well, we condemn terrorism or what happened in Paris, they need to go after the justification and say this is how these verses are being interpreted incorrectly. There has to be a robust intellectual debate that's not currently happening.
Do you go after these radical firebrand imams in the mosques? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, first of all, the media needs to start doing its job, because time after time, I see they do a very poor vetting job. Well, they'll have on an imam that is portrayed as moderate, and they'll condemn the Islamic State. Yeah. But you look into their background, they'll justify Hamas or say institute Sharia, rebuild the caliphate. That's not the moderate example you want for the youth.
Absolutely. All right. Ryan Mauro, we thank you very much for getting up and getting out here on Saturday morning. Thanks, Ryan. All right.